This is a reminder that every confident dancer that you look up to was terrified before they became free. Now you see me dancing and you can't tell. But I used to be so scared of dancing in front of others that I spent hours in the corner of the room without dancing. I would tell myself I wasn't ready, that I needed to practice more, that everyone else was better, till I realized the truth. This was never about dance, because dance didn't create this fear. It just turned up the volume of what was already inside of me. The fear of making mistakes, the belief that I have to be perfect to deserve space. But if I really think about it, I had to crawl before I could walk. So why was I expecting myself to be perfect on the dance floor? Dance is just a mirror. It reflects the parts of me that still need healing, the wounds I carry in other areas of my life. And yes, sometimes that's uncomfortable. But it's also an invitation. Now I choose to use dance as a tool for growth, to see where I'm still afraid, and to grow, one dance at a time.
Welcome, Antonio, to this podcast interview from Beyond the Dance Floor. Sandra and I always talk with people who think and feel beyond the dance floor and love sharing their stories. Antonio came to us through Instagram. We saw his page and we were like, he doesn't shy away from any subject at all. You bring out controversial stuff. You really speak from your heart. You are honest and pure. So for me, that authenticity really stepped out of all the other pages. And I'm very curious to get to know you and to learn more about your story, how you get there, and what inspires you today, and also want to bring out your festival ideas. So yes, there's a lot of stuff to talk about today, and very welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that you reached out, both of you. I think that these type of initiatives to create more open spaces like this podcast or my channel can help to bring different views to something that has been always, let's say, the same way, which is the dance or the Latin dance community or the dance scene. So I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to see what comes out of today's little talk.
Yes, when I entered, we immediately started to speak about energy and how those fields work. So let's start more with the beginning. How did you discover dance? How did dance enter into your life?
Dance, it's a funny thing. Dance entered into my life through my dad. My dad has been dancing for the last almost 15 years. And when he started dancing, I did not show openness to that idea. I come from Seville, from Spain. The culture is a bit more traditional. There is, in my own perception of it, more judgment as a culture itself. So whenever there is something that is a little bit different, judgment really catches up. So my dad was trying something that to me was very different, and I was not really open to the idea of my dad dancing salsa, bachata, kizomba, merengue, cha-cha. So for quite some years, I pushed the idea away. And when I was in my early 20s, through some friends in one summer vacation, I saw, let's say, the power of dance with one of them getting to know a beautiful lady out of nowhere in front of us, kind of like as a dare, like, okay, I dare you cannot get that lady's number. And it was such a like natural thing, organic, nothing, and that completely blew my mind. Like, whoa, wait, what? How can you? That is something like very powerful. And for a male in the early 20s, I was like, okay, well, let's explore that. And what started with let's explore that later on turn into, okay, wait, I really enjoy that, not only for the fact that I get to meet new people, new dancers, but also for myself, the feelings that they are arising, the achievements that internally I feel that I'm getting. Yeah, and that's a little bit how everything started.
Okay, so that's a natural flow, and indeed, how like what opened your eyes, because you already speak about I noticed some things more within myself. So the first idea was more like I can meet other women, or this is like a very interesting shortcut to meet women in this time. But how did it make you be conscious about what it made you feel inside? Was it a certain dance that spoke with you, or the different dance styles?
Very early, I started noticing a lot of emotions. I am someone that is sensitive to emotions and sensitive to energy now that I don't mind speaking in those terms. And in dance, I thought that it was going to be like any other, hobby, but it somehow intensified the amount of energy or the amount of emotion that I would feel inside. If I would feel happy, it would be very happy. If I would feel challenged, it would feel very, very challenging. And I still remember the first time that I went to a social and that I stayed 2.5 hours in a corner of the room without daring to enter the floor, with all my muscles being tensed up. A lot of like internal chatter of like, yeah, you don't know anything. This is clearly not your space. You need to leave. You're going to make a ridicule of yourself, And that's when I started like, okay, wait, what? Like, not in that specific moment, but when I did reflect about all of that, it's like, wow, that was a lot. And I was just like going to a party. Like, that doesn't match. Why is that happening?
And it really made you stop in that moment, because you stopped on the side and you were like, I'm not going to step up. I'm not going to dance.
Yeah. The second thing that I started noticing is that when you are in partner work dance, and at least in my own experience, to be able to physically touch another woman, a different gender than I, that was not my date or girlfriend or partner, in a mechanical way, like you're literally grabbing or touching or pulling or something. But it's also not just like football or like martial arts. In dance, there is this kind of like role play that is like this theatrical, this drama of like there is a romance happening, kind of. I always say that we cannot ever forget that dance. Normally, if you look in nature, dance is normally a mating call.
Yes.
Normally. So, yeah, I think that our own body remembers that, even if our consciousness doesn't, or our conscious brain doesn't. And whenever we start, doing those same movements and being exposed to the same smells or the same touch or the same looks, it awakens some things inside of us that I was like, whoa, okay, again. And I could be taken, she could be taken, and there's nothing happening, but there is a lot of stuff happening inside. And every now and then I would mention that, hey, is this also happening like for you guys, like in general? Yeah, that's pretty normal. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting, because it's not supposed to be there, right? Based on what they're telling us.
Yes.
So that's when I started like having a lot of curiosity of like, why this thing that we're doing, that it's supposed to be just dance, it's not really just dance. So, okay, until when it's not just dance? Where's the line, right? So I started like exploring those boundaries.
Well, for me, it's also very interesting because a lot of people are talking about the connection within and the connection with each other. And like you said, you have some boundaries, but you also have, or animal-like instinct. Like you said, in nature, all animals use it to gain the interest of a partner or to get rejected, but it has a certain different interest. And in dance, it's really about personal development. And still, they say it's also about connection, feel the energy. A lot of the times, your bodies have to touch. So, in that way, to be aware of those processes within and what it can awaken. So, when I started dance last year, I felt it was a really underlighted subject.
Mm-hmm.
Because my teachers were explaining the steps and my teachers were explaining come close, not too close, move your hips, don't move your hips so much. And I was like, okay, now I don't know what to do anymore, because for me it felt like such a contradiction. Be completely yourself, surrender to the man leads. And then I was like, okay, but be your complete self, follow your own steps. Okay, now that misconception for me, that was why, I'm always very curious about the stories behind. So I started to talk with people immediately on and off the dance floor. I was like, yeah, we have a drink. Okay, let's hear about your story. And a lot of people were like, I don't think about that. No, it's not in my mind. And some people I could see like they don't want to talk about it. But
Yes.
with others, it was immediate deep dive. And I was like, it's already an hour later and we can't stop talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a fascinating process that gets started and arises. And then I got a bit further and my steps became a bit more fluent within a few months. And then I was dancing with this man and the way he held me, and I was overflown with emotions and I could let go of so much. And I was like, I hope he doesn't think it's about him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like he opened this portal inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just allow it to come out. And I was also a bit afraid within myself. I was like, I don't even know this man, but apparently he has a certain energy. And within his touch, I feel so safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to let go, but I also was like, I can't cry and feel like this with a stranger. And then I realized, okay, what can I do with this? Because I'm from my yoga background. I know how to work with energies, but this opened me up on a completely different level because it was new for me. Everything was new and challenging. There were so many vibrations going on. There are different lights. The lights go down, but those other lights are going around. The music is extremely loud. So a lot of sensations. And also, you pass by so many different people, like sometimes within one song. And that's why I started to like Kizomba a bit better, because with Kizomba, you dance at least 3 songs and sometimes a bit longer. You really get acquainted with your partner. You start a bit slower and then you start to dance. And for me, like within salsa, it's like, I'm there and bye. I'm there, bye. So for me, it was like, okay, then bachata was a bit in between. Like, okay, it can be there, but I'm also being thrown everywhere and I have to know a lot of souplesse. And within Kizomba, for me, it was sharing the breath work, really relaxing into the moment. And then I was like, okay, for me, that's a good starting point because this I know, this I recognize, and let's go from here. My misconception was that people understand what they are doing. They don't.
No, they don't.
Most of them absolutely are clueless about what is going on, about what energies we are working with.
Yes.
And what they bring along within the other person as well as within themselves.
Yes. So you have mentioned 3 points that I would love to get back to. I'm going to do it inversely to how you did it chronologically. So I'm going to start from the end. People do not know what they're doing in terms of dance, in terms of the energy that is moving, the emotions and how the emotions are being stored, how they circulate, and how they are released and why. I don't think that there are enough safe containers for people to experience this within society and within dance. So that's why, to me, dance is a very beautiful container if you're able to tweak it, like to make some adjustments, precisely because of that. I'm gonna do a sideway thing here. Last weekend, I was in a very, very, very good coaching event from Tony Robbins, one of the best coaches in the world. And in my view, he's most, let's say, admirable skill is the capacity to deliver the result even without you understanding why it's happening. You don't need to know the science. I think that with dance, we have that opportunity of giving people a safe space to emotionally and spiritually or energetically release without them having to be Kundalini experts or yoga experts or coaches or psychologists. Because as you said, like dance itself, it's a portal. Emotion is energy in motion. So whenever we are moving our body is the matter that stores the trauma, that stores the past experiences that maybe they didn't go full cycle, because at some point they told us, don't feel that, don't express that, stay put. And we couldn't finish the cycle of an emotion, which is you feel it, you go through the whole emotion, and then you release, boom, and then the emotion is gone. At some point in our lives, there's a lot of people with some stuff that they didn't release, and we all know maybe some people, and the people that they did a little bit of inner work, they don't know a little bit about themselves. So dance is a very good activator of that, but it's also a very good container for that if you know how to do it. You were also mentioning the classes. And this is also one of the biggest why I do what I do. Because I went here in Amsterdam to some classes. I went in Seville to some classes. I've been all over the world in workshops, taking them, not just giving them. I even have done a certification of like dancing in several schools. And it's been very, very, very few times the ones that they have provided quality information, quality knowledge about emotional understanding, awareness, regulation, and one of my favorite ones that you were talking about, responsibility. One of the things that you mentioned is that we have a big influence on how someone else can feel through dance.
Yes.
This is a super key topic for me, because let's talk about from a male perspective that mainly dances as a leader. Okay. Let's describe our journey very quickly. We start dancing and we go through hell, because as a guy, okay, you are not, let's say, valued for what you are, you're valued for what you can output.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, that is the reality for a lot of guys that we live in this year, in this world. So when you are, let's say, CEO, or you are an engineer like me, and you come with all your stuff that you have done in your life, you start learning how to dance and you cannot do anything. It's very frustrating. But B, whenever we are starting to dance, we dance with normally women playing the role of follower. With the woman, it happens something like very interesting, that whenever the guy doesn't know how to lead properly at the beginning, it's a complete rejection or complete dismissal. It can be like very aggressive, like complete rejection. It has happened multiple times to me, and let's talk from my own experience. Or it can be softened, like kind of like pity look, which is sometimes even worse, you know?
Yes.
When we start improving more, we do it fueled normally based on resentment towards ourselves, also resentment towards those people that are hurting us, when we don't have any education on how to handle that.
Yes.
Okay? So there is no education for that. There is no education for either of the roles or genders about how to handle that. And when you're being born as a dancer, as a leader, for example, with that, there's a lot of resentment happening there. What happens afterwards? Then the guy, imagine, keeps going, gets to intermediate. Now he does not want to go to the basics at all. That's why you see a lot of guys leading that they don't have very good basics, but they want to go for the advanced moves because they want to run away from that pain of being the beginner that no one wants to dance with.
It's so confronting. Yeah.
It's extremely confronting. And whenever they get to a certain point, their shadow or their ego is going to take over. And now they're going to somehow pay back that pain in many ways by being super cocky or arrogant about dance, and also denying some dances to beginner followers, and so on and so on and so on. So it is just like half of the story. I could also talk about the ladies that dance as a follower, but I'm not gonna, because I'm not. So I've heard.
Keep it personal, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it to my own experience. So I feel that because there was no education about that, my own journey as a guy dancing as a leader was very painful, very, very painful. It awoke so many limiting beliefs, so many judgments, so many situations that something as fun and as, light as dance should never have awakened. So
could you talk to others about it, to other men?
Yeah, that was another point.
Okay, sorry.
No. Yeah. It's a good question. Because we're dancing male, female, normally leader, follower in a higher percentage, you don't talk that much with guys in dance as a guy. You could, but then you're talking maybe about moves or about women or about the social that day or about whatever. But there was not also a safe container for guys that are dancing to express all of this. That's also why not only I've created Inner Growth for Dancers, but I also created Gentle Leading, which is literally that container for guys that dance. And one of our pillars was to create men's circles within the workshop. So we could express, okay, guys, we know that this is happening because it has happened to all of us. So if you want to share, you can share. And then guys would remove that taboo blanket over them and would open. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. It is happening.
Exactly.
And there are no spaces and there is no education about this. So I think that is extremely important, because if we keep doing it like this, we are fomenting that resentment and separation using a vehicle that is, to me, very fun, very light, and has so much potential, like dance.
Yeah, so for me, what is also interesting, like you said, when we started to talk about what is nature and how does it evolve on the dance floor, because you make certain connections. Sometimes the way you touch each other and the closeness of their bodies, it can bring certain sensations to people. And I feel that it's also a subject people don't talk about. And sometimes they even say, oh, we don't date within the world, and all of a sudden 2 years later they are a couple or something. But it's not done to date, it's not done to be couples, because or you're a couple who starts with dancing, but no, you can't meet on the dance floor because that's not how it works. No, there is no sexual tension, and even that word about it. And then I was like, why is it so difficult, and why is it being avoided? I think when you give something a name and when you talk about certain things, you take the edge away, because you open up a little bit more about it, and people lose their shyness. And it's not like, oh, then it's just one big thing and we only talk about this. No, you take the excitement away, and then you're like, oh, what am I feeling within myself? And what do I need? And why do I want to do this dance? Is it really just about me? Or do I desire other things in my life? And also sometimes what I notice when I talk with other women is like, I danced with this guy, it was so amazing, and I felt this energy and all these fantasies came alive. But when I get to know him, he's so not my type. And not just because they want to have certain things scratched off their list, but also because they really don't fit together. But the energy is in that moment, and they're like, when I go on a date, I never feel it like this. And for me, that's like such an opening, because it's missing something inside of you and you become aware of it. But a lot of the times, what I hear is still the one night stands that come out of it, the difficult situations that come out of it, because people don't want to talk with each other anymore, or it becomes like a certain fight, or men feel like, oh, I want something extra, but I can't touch her like that. But it becomes like almost inevitable not to do it, because it gets so high, the tension gets so high, and you keep avoiding it. How do you handle that in your personal and professional life?
As you were talking, some things came to me. I think that we live in a society that punishes to see ourselves as a whole. Because we cannot, we should not, in my own opinion, forget that we do have a sexual part. But whenever we start mentioning the word sexual, maybe even for the podcast, you need to censor it or something like that, right?
So, yeah.
So just that gives you an indication of the judgment that it has, consciously or unconsciously, to talk about these topics. Sometimes I feel that we want to talk about dance without talking about that energy. Let's call it, for the sake of the podcast itself, sensual energy.
Yes.
Let's call it sensual. I believe that there cannot be a proper dance without sensual energy from both parts. Because the sensual energy, you know about Kundalini, you probably know that it's being created down here, below the belly button. And that, if you go to where all of this info comes from, you go to yoga, you go to tantra, you go to Kundalini, you go to people that have been studying that way before that we even started dancing bachata, salsa, or kizomba, you will notice that they say that that is the energy of creation. That is the life force. That is the most potent energy that we have as human beings. So consciously or unconsciously, we are harvesting, we are cultivating that energy with our dance. And that is going to awaken a lot of things inside of you. Because it's one of the most powerful energies, you're going to be accessing some parts of you that you normally don't access to. And because the other person is going to be doing the same, hopefully, it can access to some parts of that person that that person doesn't access normally. The beautiful thing is that when you get the right combination, let's say, of energies, I like to call it polarity, it is going to start creating an upwards spiral, positive spiral. Normally this happens, and I like to talk about this very openly, when a lady is dancing as a follower, and when a guy is dancing as a leader. And the guy is able to create enough structure, safety, clarity, direction. It's able to create a safe container would be the summary. For the follower can soften, let go, just follow, as they say, right? Know that she's completely safe and being held, and then she can access to her fullest feminine energy within her sensual energy. That's going to start creating a dynamic that is going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's going to go up, 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 until energetically you guys are going to get to a point that the energy is very, very high and the frequency is very, very high. These are not concepts that they come from dance. They also come from dance, but these are concepts that you can see them very clearly, and you can see the whole explanation in Tantra. So whenever I mention the word Tantra, some people are like, oh my God, but we're not doing that because that is so forbidden. No, but you spend your entire night until 7 a.m. You yourself say that you're addicted to bachata, to salsa, to kizomba, to whatever. You also say the connection, the connection, the connection. But then when we mention the right thing and we put it in your face, you block it.
Yeah.
So I think people should maybe start being a bit more open about what is really happening. And it's okay. It's normal processes. It's like just, you're thirsty or you're hungry or you need to sleep. We also have other processes that we cannot avoid, and in my opinion we should not avoid. We just need to be conscious of them, on how we use them, and responsible with them. You were talking about the relationships within the dance, and I am dancing with someone, and within the dance is amazing, and after the dance it's not really my type. Sure, because this is a very interesting topic. I believe that the you that is dancing normally is a little bit different than the you that is in life. Let me go a little bit more in detail. When you are in life, you are exposed to your culture, your family, your friends, your stories, your political view, your religion. And normally the you that is you is very limited to the you that you think that you should be. That Carl Jung called it the persona, the character. Yes. When you're dancing and you are really able to let go of all of that bullshit, and you're able to expand to the full you, the full self, you're able to access some parts of you that if the other person that you have in front of you need that type of frequency, or is inspired or attracted to that, that person normally is also going to expand a little bit more, and then you guys can meet each other there. It's like almost like an orgasm in there dancing. But then that gets interrupted because the dance ends. You go on a date, but you go on a date not with the same state that you were in the dance. You're already back into your little boxes of who I am in real life.
Mind comes in.
Correct. So in the end, who you have met during the dance energetically was a real thing. Actually, I would dare to say that that was more real than the one that you met for a coffee or for a
More
dinner.
the essence of the person,
Yes.
like that deeper soul connection, which
Yes.
we sometimes forget to touch within each other.
Yes.
But then real life gets in the way. And yeah, for me, that's a real eye opener within dance. How
Yep.
you can really have that communication on a soul level and almost forget about all the ego stuff. So for me, what you say about Carl Jung, the character, for me, I always call it ego. And then I'm like, okay, but how can we also, because sometimes we also need it. We have our stories, we have our background, and it just goes within life. Obviously, we have our responsibilities. So you can't only rely on your energies. And so sometimes with me, it's also like, okay, apparently I need this in my life. I want to deepen this connection within myself, also within my essence. Um, and like you said, the life force energy with my Kundalini rising, when I realized that I have the capability of doing it all by myself, and that awareness of sharing it with that other person, when I brought that into the dance floor, I was like, I can't do that because I'm influencing this other person and maybe that person isn't ready for it. And then a few months later, I started to trust more on the process because I was like, if I connect with the essence of the other person, that essence knows what's good for the person. And I can trust that I can't influence where someone isn't ready for to accept or to feel or to experience. And then I started to loosen up a bit more, but I feel within my process, I go a bit back and forward. And I especially see it because what I've been taught within my Kundalini yoga practice is use your life force energy for more creative energy. Make it not just about sex, because sex is the easy part. Also within Tantra, within my Tantra studies, what I've learned is like, okay, Tantra, we know about the sexual energy and the idea, maybe it's 5%, maybe even less. When you really embody a tantric way of life, it's Tantra within every element of your life. And it's not just sexual. It's beautiful when you can add it to your sexual life as well. And when you can open up more of the sexuality. I should watch my mouth more, right? It's more sensuality then.
Is your podcast.
It's my podcast, yes. So for me, it's more about within my studies, we are so literal. So when I come back into more of this world and I feel like I can't use the word tantra, like you said, people are like, what are you doing? But a lot of people come to me in the background. I want to hear more about it. Don't tell other people, but I want to hear more about it. And I'm like, it's like almost everyone is interested.
Yes.
Everyone wants to hear more about it, but they don't want to share it with all the others that also want to hear more about it.
Yes.
So I was like, there is some work to do.
The sentence that comes to me instantly with that is that we are afraid of our own humanity. We are afraid of our own humanity because we all have that. We all like that. We all want to know more about that, but we are afraid that others know that we want that because of what are they going to think about us. So again, is this judgment, is this shame layer that is the one that is preventing us to get to the next level. And precisely for what you're saying, you can bring this awareness in everything that you do. My vision would be a world in which you could incorporate these kind of teachings in normal classes. And people wouldn't have to drink so much or to smoke so much or to kill themselves working or to, all of the addictions that they have, because they would, learn to dance, whatever it is that they need to dance, they like to dance. And just be in that moment with like, wow, what is it that is happening, and have some like very easy, ABCs of how to, through dance, let that go. I think that type of world would be really beneficial, not only for the dancing, but for the world itself, because for me, my life changed through dance. Not just the dance that they were teaching me, but like the dance that we're talking about now. Because I wanted to know more about these energies and to know about my own identity, my own confidence, my own judgment. Within dance, I learned where all that came from, which was not from dance.
Oh.
And that is a little bit my mission, because in the end, there's so many people. Like, you live in Haarlem. I used to live here in Amsterdam. When I started dancing here in Amsterdam, there were 2 schools, I think, that taught bachata, 2 or 3. Now there are, I don't know how many are, but last time I checked, it was like more than 10.
Okay.
That means that the proportion of people that they're learning is like times 5, per year. And once you learn, you normally don't unlearn. So it's like more and more population learning this. If we keep teaching the same way that we have been teaching up until now, I am already foreseeing that the same issues that have been happening are going to be there. Plus, now we're living in a social media society, which before was not like that so much. To me, it caught up when I've been dancing for 3 or 4 years. And making those videos, making a video with an artist, publishing everything that people like to publish. That is also a way that people have to validate themselves, to feel significant. But it also exposes you to a reality of so much possibilities that you are not yet, that, yeah, it's like, I don't know, like young ladies being exposed to fake AI models in Facebook or in TikTok or whatever, and they get surgery, like these crazy, crazy comparisons that, well, in dance is also happening that, like a lot of people recording a lot of choreos, a lot of crazy, crazy, crazy moves that you cannot dance them in a social. And then for anyone that is learning, it's very discouraging. So if we don't teach how to handle all of the emotional bandwidth that is going to be happening, and we keep increasing the people that they're learning how to dance, well, I'm just seeing a snowball of traumatized people, more traumatized now because of dance.
Yes.
And that eventually is going to catch up with the dancing. And even though that at the beginning of this year, a lot of, at least in bachata, a lot of artists were put on the spotlight because of abuse and mistreatment and stuff. If we don't start educating people on this, I don't see how that's going to get better.